Redwood Air Force Base lay quiet beneath the Kansas sky, its usual rhythm uninterrupted, until it was. Training drills echoed across the tarmac. Pilots jogged past hangars. Engineers inspected jets with practiced precision. Commanders reviewed schedules, unaware that history was about to arrive unannounced. Then the radar lit up. A white jet, unscheduled, silent, descended with alarming confidence. Radios crackled. Ground control scrambled. Officers rushed the runway as the aircraft touched down. Stamped clearly on its fuselage was a seal no one expected to see. President of the United States. "Is this a drill?" someone whispered. "It's not," came a reply. Minutes later, a modest motorcade rolled forward. No press vans. No cameras. No fanfare. Donald J. Trump stepped onto the tarmac. No speech prepared. No entourage behind him. Just a man with a fixed expression and a purpose no one could yet name. Colonel Diana Reyes, commander of Redwood, approached, doing her best to steady herself. "Sir, we weren't informed." "I know," Trump said, scanning the base. "That's the point." Whispers followed him as he walked. Why was he here? What had brought him to a training base buried in the heart of Kansas? What no one knew was that earlier that morning, Trump had received a letter, handwritten, unmarked, delivered through internal channels. No return address. Only 7 words on the front. "Come to Redwood. You'll see what truly matters." Inside, the note was brief. "You've met presidents, generals, and billionaires. But if you want to meet a real hero, come to Redwood Air Force Base. No press. No limos. Just you." It was signed simply, "A Soldier's Daughter." Trump had stared at it longer than he cared to admit. There was no flattery. No politics. Just sincerity and a quiet challenge. "Cancel today," he'd told his aide. "Book me a flight." Quietly. Now. As he walked across the base, the letter rested in his coat pocket, like a compass. This wasn't a show base. He felt it immediately. Fewer salutes. More sweat. Real work. Real people. Colonel Reyes led him to the command center, still trying to piece together what was happening. "I think I know who wrote this," she said after reading the note. Trump looked up. "Who?" "Private First Class Riley Thomason, one of our youngest recruits. She's only been here 2 months. Quiet, focused, doesn't seek attention." Trump nodded once. "Then she's exactly who I came to meet." Riley had no idea. She was in the middle of a gear inspection when an aide approached. "The colonel wants to see you. Now." Her heart jumped. She straightened, saluted, and walked briskly toward the command building. When she entered, her boots echoed against the polished floor. "Private Thomason, reporting as ordered, ma'am." Reyes stepped aside. Riley turned and froze. Donald Trump stood. "You wrote me a letter," he said gently. Her breath caught. You actually came." He nodded. "Your words mattered." Reyes excused herself, closing the door quietly behind her. "Sit with me," Trump said. Riley obeyed, hands trembling. "I didn't think anyone would read it," she whispered. "You asked me to see what truly matters," he replied. "So tell me." And she did. "My father was Captain Eli Thomason, C-130 pilot." Her voice was soft, but steady. In 2016, his aircraft was hit during an evacuation mission. He could have ejected, but he stayed to guide the plane away from a civilian village. She swallowed. "He died saving 47 people." Trump said nothing. His jaw tightened. "They called it a technical failure." "It barely made the news," she continued. "He didn't care about recognition. But I did. I was 12. I wanted the world to remember him." "And that's why you're here," Trump said. She nodded. "Not for medals. Just to live how he lived." Later, Trump asked to see the base, not as a former president, but as a guest. Riley guided him through the dining hall. Soldiers stared, stunned. "No need to stand," Trump said, grabbing a tray. "Sit. Eat." He ate what they ate, asked real questions, listened to real answers. Stories poured out, a parent's loss, promises kept, reasons for service. "I thought I came to see a soldier," Trump said quietly, "but I'm seeing a family." That evening, in a retired hangar dusted with memories, Riley showed her father's favorite place. An old C-130 bench seat sat in the corner. "He used to bring me here," she said. "We'd look at the stars. He told me being a hero isn't about medals. It's about hard choices." Trump sat beside her. "That's what your letter was," he said. "A hard choice, and a brave one." The next day, without cameras or ceremony, soldiers gathered in the hangar. Trump held a folded flag. "This isn't about politics," he said. "This is about a man who saved strangers, and a daughter who carries his legacy with humility." He handed the flag to Riley. "For Captain Eli Thomason," he said, "whose name may not be in headlines, but lives in hearts." The hangar fell silent. Then salutes rose. After Trump left, quiet deliveries arrived. New equipment, better barracks, updated safety systems. No donor plaques, only a note, in honor of the unheard voices. A friend. Morale lifted. Pride returned. And Riley knew. Someone had listened. Someone had cared enough to come. Hundreds. Riley unlocked a small storage room and gestured toward the boxes stacked neatly along the walls. Inside were letters, dozens upon dozens, written by soldiers after deployments, after funerals, after nights when sleep never came. Some were folded carefully. Others were crumpled, stained, unfinished. Most of them were never mailed, Riley said quietly. Some didn't know who to send them to. Trump picked one up at random. The paper trembled slightly in his hands as he read aloud. "I don't know who to send this to, but I need someone to know I tried. I did my best. I'm sorry if it wasn't enough." His voice broke on the last line. "These are stories," he said, looking around the room, shaken. "Buried." Riley nodded. "No one ever reads them. But I do." She met his eyes. "They shouldn't stay hidden. That's why I wrote to you." And in that moment, Trump understood completely. That night, beneath a wide Kansas sky scattered with stars, Trump stood beside Riley outside the old hangar. The wind carried the quiet hum of the bass. Steady, watchful. "I want to do something," he said. "Not for cameras. For truth." Riley turned to him. "Like what?" "A place," he said slowly. "A living memorial. A center where soldiers can tell their stories. About pain, courage, loss, healing. No filters. No judgment." Her breath caught. "A voice for the voiceless?" He nodded. "And we'll name it after your father." Riley covered her mouth as tears streamed freely. Not from politics or recognition, but from something far rarer. Someone had cared enough to remember. The following morning, Colonel Reyes gathered the troops. "As your commander," she said, "I've seen bravery in war. But this moment is something else." She gestured toward Riley. "We are not just soldiers. We are storytellers of the human spirit. And this young woman reminded us what we fight for, not flags or fame, but each other." The room erupted in applause. "Thanks to a visit none of us expected," Reyes added. "This base is becoming more than a place. It's becoming a symbol." History was being made, not with weapons, but with words. A month later, a reporter requested an interview with Riley. "Everyone's talking about Redwood," she said. "Can we hear your story?" Riley hesitated. She hadn't done this for attention. But eventually she agreed, on one condition. "No lights, no makeup, just let me speak as a daughter." The interview aired online under a simple title, "The Soldier's Daughter Who Wrote a Letter." It went viral overnight. Veterans wrote in by the thousands. "Your story reminded me why I served. I've carried guilt for years. Your words gave me peace. My daughter watched and said she wants to be like you." Churches, schools, even members of Congress contacted the base asking how they could help. Riley remained unchanged. She still polished boots, still ran drills, still visited the hangar each night. When asked if she felt like a hero, she answered simply, "I'm just a girl who missed her dad." And somehow that meant everything. 3 months later, Trump returned. Quietly again. This time, he wasn't alone. An elderly woman stepped onto the tarmac, wearing a navy blue dress, her silver hair pulled back gently. Her hands trembled. Riley froze. Grandma? She whispered. Trump spoke softly. She wrote to me years ago. I thought maybe you both deserved a reunion. 6 years of grief collapsed in an instant. They embraced, sobbing, while Trump stood nearby, wiping his own eyes. Sometimes the greatest victories don't come from power, but from presence. That fall, the Thomason Center for Military Voices opened its doors. Inside were quiet rooms, recording booths, counseling corners, and a hall of letters, where stories could be shared without fear. Trump stood beside Riley and Colonel Reyes as the ribbon was cut. He didn't give a speech. He only said, "This belongs to you." At the center stood a single letter encased in glass. "Dear Mr. Trump, will someone ever care enough to listen?" Below it, a plaque read, "Someone did." As Trump prepared to leave, he turned to Riley. "You changed me." She saluted. "You listened?" He returned the salute as the jet lifted into the sky. Riley watched it disappear beside Colonel Reyes, knowing something had shifted. Not just for her, but for countless soldiers who never believed their stories mattered. Her letter was never a plea for fame. It was a beacon. And because one man chose to board a plane unannounced, everything changed. Within hours, Trump boarded the jet. There was no press release, no grand entourage, just a single security vehicle and his personal driver. He hadn't done anything this impulsive in years. As the aircraft cut through the sky toward Kansas, the handwritten letter rested in his coat pocket. Its weight heavier than paper should be. Now, walking across Redwood Air Force Base, he felt again that quiet pull in his gut. This wasn't a prank. A young airman opened a side gate, eyes wide. "Welcome, Mr. President." Trump nodded once. "Take me to your commanding officer." As they walked, he noticed something unusual. There were fewer salutes, more sweat. Dust clung to boots. Faces were focused, not performative. This wasn't a show base. This was where work happened. His instincts told him he was exactly where he needed to be. But who had written the letter and why? Colonel Diana Reyes was not easily rattled. At 47, she had served 3 tours, earned 2 Bronze Stars, and built a reputation for no-nonsense leadership. Still, she struggled to keep her composure when Donald Trump stepped unannounced into her command center. He used to bring me here. I apologize for the chaos. We'd look at the stars. We had no prior. He told me being a hero I don't want an apology, Colonel. It's about hard choices. Evenly. I came here sat beside her. That's what your letter was, he said. She read it in silence. A hard choice, her brow tightened. A brave one. Her expression the next day without cameras or ceremony. I made no gathered in the hangar. Trump held a folded flag. Trump leaned This forward. Isn't about politics, he said. Private This is about a man who saved strangers. One of our youngest daughter recruits. Who carries his legacy with humility. She just completed her second month of training. To Riley. Quiet. For Captain dedicated. Eli Thomason, she doesn't seek attention. Whose name may not Trump be in headlines, but lives Then she's in exactly who I want to meet. The hangar fell Reyes hesitated. Then salutes rose. Riley's been through After a lot. Trump left. She doesn't even know Quiet deliveries arrived. Trump gave a new equipment. Better barracks. Updated safety systems. Then reach for the radio. Donor plaques. Give me private Only Thomason. A note. Training honor yard. The unheard voices. Now, a friend. As the aide left. Morale lifted. Trump sat quiet. Pride returned. Hands folded. And Riley Reyes studied him. Someone had listened. He seemed less like the man Someone had cared enough to rallies. Hundreds. And more like someone Riley unlocked a small storage room. What really brought you toward here? The boxes stacked neatly along Trump the walls. Trump didn't hesitate. Inside Sometimes one honest voice dozens upon dozens. That letter soldiers real. After deployments. Neither of them knew how much after nights when sleep never Riley came. Thomason was inspecting gear carefully when an aide Others approached. Were crumpled. The colonel wants to see unfinished. Now most of them were never mailed. Her heart jumped. Riley said she quietly. Straightened. Saluted. Some didn't know who to send them to. Moments Trump picked one up at random. Her boots clicked the paper trembled slightly in his hands as he read aloud. Private Thomason. I don't know who to send this to. Reporting is ordered, but I need someone to know I tried. Reyes gestured. I did my best. Riley turned. I'm sorry if it was enough. Donald Trump sat there, voice broke on the hands last folded. Line. These are stories, he said, stood, looking around. Wrote me a letter, shaken. Her eyes widened. You Riley actually nodded. Came? No one ever reads them. Your words meant something. She met his eyes. No, they shouldn't stay. Reyes excused herself. That's why I wrote to you, closing the door. And in that moment, Trump understood completely. Sit with me, Riley. Beneath a wide Kansas sky, scattered with stars. I didn't expect anyone to Riley outside the old hangar. You asked me to see what truly mattered on the base. Trump replied steady, gently. Watch. So, tell me.
I want to do something.
She took a breath.
He said.
My father was Captain Eli Thomas.
Truth.
He flew
Riley
C-130s.
Like,
people
what?
loved him.
A place.
Not because he
said
was
slowly,
loud, but because he always put others first.
A center where soldiers can tell
Trump
their
listened,
stories.
silent.
About pain,
In
courage,
2016,
loss,
his plane was hit
no filters,
during an evacuation mission.
no judgment.
He could have ejected.
Her breath caught,
but he stayed to guide the aircraft
voiceless,
away from a civilian village.
And we'll
he
name
died
it
saving
after your
47 people.
Riley covered
She
her mouth
paused,
as tears
eyes
streamed
shining.
freely.
They called it
Not
a
from
technical
politics
failure.
or recognition.
It barely
but from
made the
something
news.
far rarer.
Trump's jaw
Someone
tightened.
had cared enough
That's
to remember.
unacceptable.
The following morning,
He didn't care about
Colonel
recognition.
Reyes gathered the troops.
Riley said softly.
As your commander,
But I did.
She said,
I was 12.
I've seen bravery.
I
in
wanted
war,
the world to
but
remember
this
him.
moment is
And so
something
you
else.
joined the Air Force.
She gestured
Trump said,
toward Riley.
She nodded.
We're not just soldiers.
Not for medals.
We
Just
are
to live how you
storytellers
live.
of the human spirit.
A heavy
And
silence
this young
followed.
woman reminded
You've
us what
already
we fight
honored
for,
him more than you know.
not flags or
Trump
fame,
said.
but each
Afterward,
other. The room
Trump asked to
erupted
see
in
the
applause.
base.
Thanks
Not as
to
a
a visit
dignitary,
none of us
but as a
expected.
guest.
Reyes
Riley
added.
guided him to the
This
dining
base
hall.
is becoming more than
Soldiers
a place.
looked up in
It's
stunned
becoming
silence.
a symbol.
No need
History
to
was
stand.
being made,
Trump
not
said,
with weapons,
grabbing a
but
tray.
with words.
Sit.
A month
Eat.
later,
He
a
ate what
reporter
they ate.
requested an
Meatloaf,
interview
mashed
with Riley.
potatoes.
Everyone's
Overcooked
talking about
green beans,
Redwood and
she
asked
said.
real questions.
Can we hear your story?
Why did you serve?
Riley hesitated.
What keeps you going? She
hadn't
Stories
done
poured
this for
out.
attention.
Loss.
But eventually she
Promise.
agreed.
Purpose.
On one condition.
I thought I came
No
here
lights.
to see a soldier.
No makeup.
Trump said quietly.
Just
to
let me
Riley,
speak as a daughter.
But I'm seeing a family.
The interview aired
That
online
evening,
under a simple
Riley
title.
led him to an old
The soldier's daughter,
retired hangar
who wrote a
filled
letter.
with dust-covered
It
relics.
went viral overnight.
This was my
Veterans
dad's favorite
wrote
place.
in by the
she whispered.
thousands. He used
Your
to sneak
story
me in.
reminded me why I
We sit in an
served.
old cargo
I've carried
plane
guilt for years.
and look at the stars.
Your words gave me peace.
In the corner sat a worn
My daughter
seat,
watched
130
and
bench
said she
seat.
wants to be like
He
you.
told me being a hero
Churches,
doesn't mean
schools,
medals.
Even
she
members
said.
of Congress
It
contacted
means making
the base
hard
asking how they
choices.
could help.
Riley
Trump
remained
beside her.
unchanged.
That's what your letter
She
did.
still polished boots.
She smiled
Still
faintly.
ran drills.
Then maybe he
Still
still
visited
visited
the
the
hangar
hangar each night.
The next
When
morning,
asked if she felt like a
Trump
hero,
made a quiet request.
she answered simply,
that afternoon.
I'm just a girl.
Soldiers
who missed her
gathered in the
dad.
hangar. No
And
podium.
somehow,
No press.
that meant everything.
Trump held
3
a folded
months
flag.
later,
This
Trump
isn't about
returned.
politics, he said.
Quietly again.
It's about a man
This
who
time,
gave his life to save
he wasn't
others.
alone.
And a
An
daughter
elderly
who
woman
carries that
stepped
legacy
onto the
with
tarmac,
humility.
wearing
He handed
navy
the
blue
flag
dress.
to Riley.
Her silver
For
hair
Captain
pulled
Eli
back
Thomason,
gently.
he said,
her hands
whose
trembled.
name may not be in
Riley
headlines,
froze.
but lives in hearts.
Grandma, she whispered.
The hangar fell
Trump
silent.
spoke softly.
Then came the
She wrote to me
salutes.
years ago.
Later that evening,
I thought Riley unlocked
maybe
a
you
small
both
storage
deserved a
room.
reunion.
Inside were boxes.
6 years of grief,
Dozens
collapsed in an
hundreds
instant.
of letters.
They embraced
Soldiers write
sobbing,
these after deployments
while
after
Trump stood
funerals.
nearby,
Wiping
said.
his own eyes.
Some were never mailed.
Sometimes the greatest victories
Trump picked
don't
one
come
up
from power,
and read aloud.
but from
I
presence.
don't know who to send this to.
That fall,
but I
the
need
Thomason
someone to
Center
know I
for military
tried.
voices
I did my
opened its
best.
doors.
I'm
Inside
sorry
were
if it wasn't
quiet
enough.
rooms,
His
recording
voice cracked.
booths, counting
These are
corners in a hall of
stories,
letters,
he said quietly,
where stories could be
Buried.
shared without fear.
That's why I
Trump
wrote to
stood
you,
beside
Riley
Riley and
said.
Colonel Reyes
They shouldn't
as
stay
the ribbon was
hidden.
cut.
He
That
didn't give
night,
a speech
under the stars.
He only said,
Trump spoke
"This
softly.
belongs to you.
I want to build
At the
something
center
here.
stood a single
a
letter
living memorial
encased in glass.
A place where
Dear
soldiers
Mr.
can share their
Trump,
stories.
will someone
Without
ever
filters.
care enough to listen?
Riley's eyes
Below it,
filled. A plaque
a
read,
voice for the voiceless?
Someone did.
And
As
we'll
Trump
name it
prepared
after
to
your
leave,
father.
he turned to
For
Riley.
the first time in years,
You changed
Riley
me.
cried.
She
Not from
saluted,
grief,
but from
you
gratitude.
listened. Someone
He
had
returned the
listened.
salute as the
Someone
jet
had
lifted
come.
into the sky.
Colonel
Riley
Diana
watched
Reyes
it
was
disappear
known for
beside
no-nonsense
Reyes.
leadership, knowing
At
something had
47,
shifted.
She
Not
had
just
survived
for her,
3
but
combat
for countless
tours,
soldiers who
earned
never
2
believed
bronze
their
stars,
stories mattered,
and built a
Her
reputation
letter was
that
never a
commanded
plea for
instant
fame.
respect.
It was a
Still,
beacon.
and
Even
because
she
one
struggled to
man
steady
chose to
herself
board a
when the
plane
former
unannounced,
president
stepped unannounced
everything
into
changed.
a command center.
Within hours,
Sir,
Trump
I
boarded the
apologize
jet.
for the
There was
disruption.
no press
She
release,
began.
no
We
grand
had no
entourage,
prior. Just a
I
single
don't want an
security
apology,
vehicle and his
Colonel.
personal driver.
Trump interrupted
He hadn't
calmly.
done anything
I came here for a
impulsive in
reason.
years.
He
As
handed
the
her
aircraft
letter.
cut through the sky
She read
toward
it in
Kansas,
silence.
the
Her
handwritten
brows
letter
knit
rested in
together.
his coat pocket.
When she reached the
its
signature,
weight heavier than
her
paper
expression
should be.
hardened. Now,
Not with suspicion,
walking across
but
Redwood Air
recognition.
Force Base,
I
he
may
felt
know
again
who wrote this.
that quiet
She said
pull in
carefully.
his gut.
Trump
This
leaned
wasn't a prank.
forward.
A young airman opened
Private
the side
first
gate,
class Riley
eyes
Thomason,
wide.
one of our
Welcome,
youngest
Mr.
recruits.
President.
She
Trump
just completed
nodded
her
once.
second month
Take
of
me to
active
your
training.
commanding officer.
Quiet,
Focused.
As they walked,
Not
she
someone who
noticed
seeks
something
attention.
unusual.
Trump
there were
nodded.
fewer salutes.
Then she's
more
exactly
sweat.
who I want to
Dust
meet.
clung to boots.
Reyes hesitated.
Faces were
Sir,
focused.
Riley's
not
special.
performative.
She's
This
also
wasn't
been
show
through a
based.
great deal. This was
She
where
doesn't
work
even know
happened.
you're here.
His instincts
Trump
told him
smiled
he was
faintly.
exactly where
All
he
the
needed
better.
to be. Reyes
But
exhaled,
who had written the letter and
then
why?
reached for the radio.
Colonel Diana
Get me
Reyes
Private
was not
Thomason.
easily rattled.
Training yard.
At 47. Now, she had served
As
3
the aide
tours,
left,
earned
Trump
2
sat
Bronze
silently,
Stars, and
hands
built a
folded.
reputation for
His
no-nonsense
gaze
leadership.
drifted to the floor.
Still,
Reyes
she
studied
struggled to keep her
He
composure
seemed less
when
like the
Donald
commanding
Trump stepped
figure from
unannounced
podiums and
into a
rallies,
command center, and more like a grandfather searching for something he'd misplaced long ago. "What really brought you here?" she asked. Trump didn't look up. Sometimes one honest voice cuts through the noise. That letter felt real.
Neither
Sir,
of them knew how
I
much it would
apologize
change,
for
he
the
said.
chaos.
Private
We looked
First
at the
Class
stars.
Riley
We had
Thomason
no
told me
prize.
being a
Midway
hero.
through a
I don't
given
want
an
an
apology,
Colonel.
Colonel.
It's
It's
about
about
hard
hard
choices.
choices. The Colonel wants to see
I
you.
came
Trump
here
sat
for
beside
now.
her.
That's
Her
what
handed
the letter
her
was.
letter.
She
She
said, read it and
a hard
saluted.
choice. Her
Yes,
brow
sir.
tightened.
Brave one.
Moments
Her
later,
expression
next day,
stayed
her
without
boots clicked
cameras
softly
or
across the
ceremony.
polished floor.
I
Soldiers
may know
gathered
who
in the
wrote
hangar.
this.
Private Thomas
Trump held a
carefully,
folded
reporting
flag.
as Trump
Leaned
leaned. This
down.
isn't about politics.
Reyes
Said.
motioned
Private
her
This
right.
is about a
First
man
class
Riley
Riley
turned
turned
strangers.
and
One of our
And
young
a daughter
daughters
who
Trump
carries
sat
his
there.
legacy with
She just
calmly.
completed her
Hands
handed
folded
the
on his
flag
lap.
to Riley.
He stood.
Quiet. For Captain
Dedicated
Eli
letter.
Thomason.
She doesn't
He
seek
said, breath
attention.
caught.
Whose name may not
You
be
recognize,
recognized,
but
then
lives
she's
in heart.
exactly
Nodded.
who I want to meet.
Your
The hangar
words
fell
Reyes
silent.
hesitated.
More
Then
than
salutes
rose.
Riley's been
After
Reyes
Trump
quietly.
left, she doesn't even know
quiet
you're here.
deliveries arrived.
Closing the
Trump
door
gave
behind
new
her.
equipment. Trump
Better,
hauled her
better.
to a chair.
Reyes
Updated with
exhaled
safety
Riley.
systems. Then reached for
No
the
donor
hesitated.
plaque.
Give me
Then
private
only a
Thomason.
note.
Her hands
Training
honored
yard.
the unheard voice.
Now,
I didn't think anyone would
as
read
the
it.
aide left,
She admitted.
morale lifted.
Trump
You
sat quiet
asked
to see
pride
what
returned.
truly
Hands
mattered.
folded.
And Riley
Reyes
Thomason
studied
gently.
him.
Someone had
He seemed less like the man
Someone
from
had
Riley
carried
took
him
the
to
rallies.
rallies.
My
And
father
more
was
like
Captain
someone
Riley
unlocked
unlocked
a
the
small
lost.
storage
He
room.
flew
What
and
really
gestured
brought you
toward
100
the
boxes
third
stacked neatly
Everyone
along
loved
didn't
him.
hesitate.
Inside
Sometimes
was
one
loud
honest
and
voice
dozens
cuts
upon
through
dozens.
because he always
That
put
letter
other
felt
soldiers
real.
after deployment.
Trump
Neither of them
without
knew
his
how much
after
it would
nights
change.
when
In 2016,
Riley
his
Thomason
aircraft
was
was
hidden
folded
gear
during an
carefully.
evacuation.
When aid
Others were
approached,
crumpled.
he could
The
have
colonel
rejected
wants
the seat.
unfinished, but he
Now,
stayed. Most of them were never
guiding
made
her
away
away
from
from
Riley
civilian
said she
quietly.
straightened.
Her
Some didn't
voice
know who to
wavered.
send
Yes,
them
sir.
to. He died, saved
Moments
Trump
later,
picked one up
some
and
people.
ran. Her boots clicked
paper
silently
trembled
filled
slightly
in his hand.
They called it a
technical
technical
private
failure.
Thomas.
I don't know who to
She
send him to.
reporting as
It
ordered. But I
barely
need someone
made
to know I
news.
tried.
Reyes gestured.
I
Trump's
did my
jaw
best.
tightened.
Riley,
I'm
that's
sorry
that
that
was
was
enough. Donald
He
Trump
didn't care
said
about
voice
recognition.
broke on the
Hands
last
folded.
line.
Riley said,
These are
quietly.
stories.
But I did.
He stood. I was
looking
wrote
around,
me a letter.
shaking.
I wanted the
Her
world
eyes
to
widened.
remember him.
You
Riley
actually
nodded.
so you
joined the
no
Air
one ever
nodded.
reads them.
Trump
Your
said,
words
I do.
mean
She
something.
nodded.
She met his
More than
eye.
for
No.
medals. They shouldn't stay
Stay
to
as
live how you
excuse
live. That's
yourself.
why I wrote to you.
A heavy
Closing the
still
door
in that
behind her.
moment
Between them.
Trump
Trump
understood
you've already
completely.
honored him more than
Sit
you
with
know,
me.
Riley.
Trump
Beneath a
said
wide
quietly.
Kansas sky,
After
hand
it
was
trembling.
trembling. Trump asked
I
to
didn't
Trump
expect
stood
beside
beside Riley
not
outside
as a
the
dignitary.
hangar.
But
You
as a
asked him
guest,
when
what
truly
truly
Riley
mattered
guided
him
him to the dining hall.
Trump
Steady
apologized.
conversations.
So, tell me.
I want to do
Heads
something. Took a
turned.
breath.
He said,
No need.
My
to
father
cameras.
was Captain
Trump
Eli
said,
Thomason.
Truth. Grabbing a
He
tray.
flew
Riley
sequence
130s.
Eat.
Like people
What?
loved
He
him.
ate the same
A place,
meal,
not because he was
meatloaf,
mashed potatoes,
but
but
because
because
he
he always put others
green
first.
beans.
The center where soldiers
And
asked
asked
others
real
real
questions.
silent
About pain,
Why in
curse,
2016?
loss, what keeps you
his
going?
plane was hit
No
stories
fears
in an
emerged
evacuation
of
mission.
loss,
Judge
of
promises,
could have
of
ejected,
her
breath
purpose.
caught.
But he
I
stayed
thought I
guiding
came here to
aircraft
meet a
away
soldier.
from a
He
civilian.
nodded.
Trump said softly,
And
"We
we'll
died
name it
saving
after
your
but I'm
father
seeing
and
a
people."
family.
Riley covered her
Gently.
mouth as tears
Eyes
Riley
shining.
led him to an old,
They called
not
it
from
a
politics,
tired
recognition.
recognition.
Filled
It
with
barely
dust from
made
something
news.
far
This
rarer.
was my
Trump's
dad's
jaw. Someone
favorite
had
place.
cared enough
That's
to remember.
unacceptable.
He
The
used to
following
sneak in.
morning,
He didn't care
after
about Colonel
recognition,
Reyes gathered the
we
troops
were
inside an old
as your
cargo
commander.
plane. But I did.
She
And
said,
look at the
I was
stars. I've
12.
seen bravery.
I
in the
wanted
corner
the
set
world
a
to
one
remember
this
this
moment.
moment.
And
And
so you joined
He
told me
Air
being a
Force. He
hero
gestured
Trump
toward
doesn't mean
Riley.
medals. She nodded.
We're
We're
not
not
just
just soldiers.
soldiers.
It means
Medals.
making hard
We
just
are
to live how you
storytellers
live.
of the human
Trump sat
spirit.
beside
Heavy
her.
silence.
And this young
That's
woman
what your
reminded
letter
us
did.
what we
You've
fight
honored
for.
him more than
She
you
smiled
know.
flags or
Trump
fans.
said,
Maybe
but
he's
he's
still
still
flying
flying
somewhere.
somewhere.
Trump asked
erupted
to see
in
the
the
base.
sat
in silence.
Thanks
Not
to
as
a
a
visit
surrounded
to
by
the
machines
machines
that once
Reyes
carried
Riley
lives.
guided him to the
to the
This
dynamite.
base is becoming more than
soldiers.
Trump finally becoming a symbol.
Because you have
no
the need
power
to
to remind people
Trump
not
said
with
forget,
weapons,
grabbing a
but with
tray.
words. That behind every title, he ate what they requested in behind every uniform. Everyone's talking about Green Trump understood and asked the next morning, "Can we hear your story?" Why did you serve? Riley hesitated. What keeps that afternoon? She had soldiers gathered in the hangar, but eventually she agreed. No press. Condition. I thought Trump I came here to be a soldier. No, this is about politics. Just let me speak as a daughter. But I'm seeing it's about a man. Interview aired online. Others. Riley led him daughter to the soldier's hired hangar. Wrote a letter. He handed the flag. Went viral overnight. This was my dad's Captain Thomas. He said, whose
name
story
may not
reminded
be
me why
headlines,
he sit in
but
an
lives in
old
heart.
cargo
I've carried
plane.
guilt for years.
The
Look
hangar
at the
became
stars.
your
Sacred
words
ground.
gave me peace.
In the corner
Words
sat a
spread
my
and
daughter
not a
130
spectacle,
bench.
but she wants to be like
He
you.
told me being
Trump
a
ate
hero
churches,
doesn't mean
schools.
medals.
He listened.
Even
she
members
said.
of
He
Congress
cried. It means making
Colonel
hard
Reyes
choices
called
make
it
a
help.
ripple effect.
Riley
Trump sat
remained
back
night.
unchanged.
Riley showed
still
his
polished
small
boots.
room.
She smiled
Still
faintly.
ran drills.
Then
Maybe he
boxes
still
lined
visited
walls.
the hangar each
Letters
night. The
written
next
after
morning,
appointments,
she felt like
after
Trump made a
funerals,
quiet
after
request.
answers and
Simply
brief.
that afternoon.
I'm
Trump
just a
picked
girl,
one soldiers
Mr.
gathered at the
Loud.
hangar. I don't
No
know who
podium.
said somehow,
No
but I
press.
need someone to know
Trump
I
helped
tried.
3 months later.
I did my best.
This
Trump
isn't about
returned.
politics.
I'm sorry if it
Quietly
wasn't
again.
enough. It's about a man
This
who
time,
gave his
voice
life to
cracked.
save
He wasn't
others.
alone.
These stories are
An
buried
elderly
and
woman
carries
that
that legacy
legacy
with
with
That's
Tom
why I
Mack.
wrote to you.
Where he handed
navy
the flag
blue
to
dress.
Riley.
Her
Under the
silver
star.
hair pulled back.
Thomason.
Quiet. Her hands.
I want to
name
build
may not
something.
be
Riley
headlines,
froze.
a place where
Grandma,
soldiers can share their
she was
stories.
the hangar
Without
Trump
filters.
spoke softly.
Then came the
voice
wrote
of
to
the
me
voices.
years ago.
Later that evening,
Riley
I
asked.
thought,
Riley unlocked.
and maybe
We'll
small
name it
stories
after
were
your
union.
father. Inside were
6
years of grief, not from
collapsed
grief,
in
hundreds
of
of
letters.
being
They
seen.
embraced
Soldiers
months
write
later
these after deployment.
Thomas
Trump
Center
nearby.
military voices
Wiping his
opened
own
its
eyes.
doors.
Some were never met.
Sometimes
the
the
greatest
greatest
Trump
victories
picked
don't
one
come
up
from
and
power.
read aloud.
They're
from
from
space.
I don't know who to
Haul
send this
letters.
to.
That fall,
But
I
I need someone to know
a
I
single
tried.
letter
Voices.
rested
I
beneath
did
my
my
best.
best.
Dear
I'm
Miss
sorry
Silver,
it wasn't
quiet. Was
announced.
someone ever
His
carried
voice
lessons? These are stories, plaque read, where stories can be shared without fear.
That's why I
Trump
wrote
stood
to
beside
he turned
Riley
to Riley.
and Colonel Reyes.
They
He
shouldn't
changed
stay
ribbon
hidden.
was cut.
She
That
said good
night,
speech.
under the
You
stars.
listened.
He only said,
Trump spoke
and as the
softly.
jets lifted
I
into
want
the
to build
Kansas
a
center,
center.
stood a single
Riley
letter
living
something
memorial
encased in
shifted.
glass,
A place
not
where
just
soldiers
soldiers
can
can
share
share
their
for
stories.
every
Well,
soldier
without
who
ever
ever
believed
believed
their
their
story
story
didn't
Riley's
matter.
eyes
Low
filled.
her letter
plaque
was
never
never
about
about
fame.
fame.
Someone did.
It was a beat.
And
As
we'll
Trump
name it
prepared
after
because
his
one
father.
man
He
turned
chose
to
the
Riley.
first time in
Everything
years.
changed
Riley
me.
cried. She
Not from
saluted,
grief,
but from
you
gratitude.
listened.
Someone
You
had returned the
listened.
salute as the
Someone
jet
had
lifted
come.
into the sky.
Colonel
Riley
Diana
watched
Reyes
it
was
disappear
known for
beside
no-nonsense
no-nonsense
leadership,
knowing
At
something
47.
had shifted.
She
Not
had survived
just
3 combat
but for countless
tours,
soldiers who
earned
never
2
believed
Bronze
their
Stars,
stories mattered,
and built a
her
reputation
letter was
that
never
commanded
plea for
instant
fame.
respect.
It was a
Still,
beacon. And
even
because
she
one
struggled to
man
steady
chose to
herself
board
when
a
the
plane
former
unannounced,
president
stepped unannounced
everything
into a
changed.
command center.
Within hours,
Sir,
Trump
I
boarded the jet.
apologize for the disruption.
There was no press
It
release,
began.
no
We had
grand
no
entourage.
prior, just a
I
single
don't want an
security
apology,
vehicle and his
Colonel.
personal driver.
Trump interrupted
He hadn't
calmly.
done anything
I came
as
here for a
impulsive in
reason.
years.
He
As
handed
the
her
aircraft
letter.
cut through the sky,
She read it in
Kansas.
silence.
The
Her
handwritten
brows
letter
knit
rested in
together.
his coat pocket.
When she reached the
Its
signature,
weight heavier than
her
paper
expression
should be.
hardened. Now,
Not with suspicion,
walking across
but
Redwood Air
recognition.
Force Base,
I
he
may
felt
know
again
who wrote this.
that quiet
She said
pull in
carefully.
his gut.
Trump
This
leaned
wasn't a
forward.
prank.
A young airman opened
Private
the side
First
gate,
Class Riley
eyes
Thomason.
wide. One of our
Welcome,
youngest
Mr.
recruits.
President.
She
Trump
just
nodded
completed
once.
her second month
Take
of
me to
active
your
training.
commanding officer.
Quiet,
Focus.
as they walked.
Not
Someone
someone
who
noticed
seeks
something
attention.
unusual.
Trump
There were
nodded.
fewer salutes.
Then she's
more
exactly
sweat.
who I want to
Dust
meet.
clung to boots.
Reyes hesitated.
Faces were
Sir,
focused,
Riley's
not
special.
performative.
She's
This
also
was a
been
show
through a
base.
great deal. This was
She
where
doesn't
work
even know
happened.
you're here.
His instincts
Trump
told him
smiled
he was
faintly.
exactly where
All
he
the
needed
better.
to be.
Reyes
But who
exhaled,
had written the letter
then
and why?
reached for the radio.
Colonel Diana
Get me,
Reyes
Private
was not
Thomason.
easily rattled.
Training yard.
At 47. Now, she had served
As
3
the aide
tours,
left,
earned
Trump
2
sat
Bronze
silently,
Stars, and
hands
built a
folded.
reputation for
His
no-nonsense
gaze
leadership.
drifted to the floor.
Still,
Reyes
she
studied him.
struggled to keep her
He
composure
seemed less
when
like a
Donald
commanding
Trump stepped
figure from
unannounced
podiums and
into a
rallies.
command center, and more like a grandfather searching for something he'd misplaced long ago. "What really brought you here?" she asked. Trump didn't look up. Sometimes one honest voice cuts through the noise. That letter felt real.